Hey guys, how are you all doing? I hope you're all having an amazing day. Welcome to another FPL video. We have lots of things to talk about for today, so I want to talk about GW21 and see how my team did in that game week. Then we're gonna focus on the GW22 and I'm gonna give you guys my opinions about the players that have a double game week, but also some players from teams that don't have a double game week but could offer value for game week 22. So yeah, we have lots of things to talk about for today. Thank you for watching and let's start the video. So for game week 21 my team got a total of 92 points, so a very high scoring game week for me. I started the game week at an overall rank of, I believe, 49. Let me just check. Yes, 49,000 in the world. So it's a 25k green arrow for me. My overall rank at the moment is 24k, and it's been all green arrows since the World Cup restart. So I'm very happy with my team currently. So as I said, for game week 21 I got a total of 92 points and lots of players returned in this game week. Only 3 of my starting players didn't manage to get any returns. So obviously Haaland, the captain, he scored a hat-trick, but most people had him as a captain, so that doesn't really matter. The two important players for me this game, two differential players, or I suppose you could say my two star players, were Mitoma from Brighton with 10 points. So I'm very happy that about the timing in which I got Mitoma. I got him in last game week and he's had a return in that game week and game week 21 as well. So at the price I got him in and the fact that he is still very low owned, because most people at the moment are focusing on the double game week players and all of that. So I'm very happy to have Mitoma in my team, and his fixtures also look amazing. So I expect a lot of points, a lot of differential points from him in the upcoming game weeks. So he's definitely the star player of game week 21 for me. And also the other player is Laporte. So I don't know if you have how many videos you have watched previously, but I suppose if you have, you would know that I got in Laporte after since the World Cup break, since game week 17. It was a mistake, I admitted it. So basically I decided to go without Cancelo and I chose to downgrade him to another City defender, but I didn't really do my research that well. The correct choice was probably John Stones or maybe Ake, but I went with Laporte because I assumed that the two starting central backs for Man City are going to be Stones and Laporte, but that wasn't the case. Laporte was dropped and he was injured in most of the Man City's games, but he still stayed in my team for some time, and I had a good feeling that he was going to start this game week based on the fact that Man City had two hard fixtures before 21. So I thought that it's about time that Pep rests players like Ake or John Stones, or maybe, I don't know, Karen, no, sorry, what's Lewis was his, always forget his name, the 3.9 million player. So I had a feeling that Laporte has a strong possibility to start in this game, and that's why I started him instead of Luke Shaw, who I benched, and it paid off. Laporte did play in this game, he got a clean sheet and 2 bonus points. So he's definitely another star player for me in gameweek 21. The rest of the teams of the team got I'm sorry, just a second. Sorry. So yeah, the rest of the team got some returns as well, and in the end gameweek 21 was, I believe, my second best gameweek of this season, after that gameweek in which I got 100 points. So I'm very happy with my team at the moment, and I'm very happy with my overall rank. And yeah, like I said, my aim for the game for the top 10k spot at the end of the season seems very lively at the moment. So now let's focus about gameweek 22 and talk about what options there are available for this gameweek. So as you know, Man United and Leeds are most likely going to have a double gameweek in 22. It's not still certain, so it could still not happen if Man United or Leeds draw their games in the FA Cup. The double gameweek 22 won't happen for them, but it looks very unlikely for that to happen at the moment, because both of them play easy fixtures. They have easy fixtures with teams from lower divisions in the FA Cup, so I expect both of them to win their games, and if they do, they will have a double gameweek 22. So let's start with Man United. So I already own Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford. I assume most of you have Rashford as well. He's pretty much at 100% from owned from the live teams in the game. So I believe you have him. He's definitely the best option from Man United, and I still believe that Luke Shaw is the second best option. Now, Man United did concede 2 goals in their last 2 games, so they had no clean sheet against Palace and against Arsenal, also against Man City, but to be fair, Man City and Arsenal are the 2 hardest fixtures this season for clean sheet. So I wasn't really expecting much from him in those fixtures, and Palace away was very close to being a clean sheet for Luke Shaw. Palace scored a 90th minute free kick goal, so that could have easily ended 0-1 and the clean sheet would have happened. I still think that Man United are very solid defensively, and I expect them to get at least, so in the next 4 fixtures, Palace, Leeds at home, Leeds away and Leicester at home, I expect Man United to get at least 3, let's say 2 or 3 clean sheets in these games. Plus Luke Shaw this season looks like the most dangerous Man United defender attacking wise, so he could provide an assist or a goal as well. So I do think he's the second best option to have from Man United, and the third best option is at the moment seems to be Bruno Fernandes. So I don't have Bruno Fernandes, and I'm looking of ways to bring him in my team for gameweek 22. So he's definitely in form since the World Cup return. So he's had a 1 return in all of the last 5 games, and he does get in great positions attacking wise, so he seems to get a lot more in the box behind the striker, and he does have a knowledge of how to get himself into a goal scoring position. So plus he always has that little pass from which he gets lots of assists, mostly for Marcus Rashford. So I do think that Bruno Fernandes is the third best Man United option to have for double gameweek 22 and beyond. I am looking at bringing him in, but the problem I have at the moment is that I don't really have a way to get him in unless I transfer out De Bruyne, which I'm not sure is the smartest thing to do right now, because De Bruyne will have a double game week in 23, and I'm not the type of player to transfer out a player and then transfer them back in the game week after. So if I transfer out Kevin De Bruyne for game week 22, I will not have him for double game week 23 most likely. Now, one idea that I had recently that I might do if I really want to have Bruno Fernandes for this game week is I could transfer out De Bruyne, get in Fernandes, and then for game week 23 I could possibly transfer out Fernandes and get in Riyad Mahrez as a Man City option for the double game week. So instead of De Bruyne, I would end up on Mahrez, who at the moment seems to be the better informed player than De Bruyne, so he could be more valuable to have. So that's one idea that I have at the moment that I like. If for whatever reason you don't like to have Bruno Fernandes in your team, or maybe you can't afford him, then I would say the next best player to have is probably a defender, honestly. Now, if Dalot was fit, I would definitely go for him, maybe even in front of Bruno Fernandes, but unfortunately he's still injured and I'm not sure when he comes back. So I suppose if we look at the remaining of their defenders, it's one of the two central backs, so either Martinez or Varane. I think I prefer Varane mostly because he has a slightly bigger, let's say, attacking threat, but it's not much from him either. But maybe he can get like a headed goal from a corner or something like that. He did get a header, I believe it was in the Europa League or maybe in the cup games for Man United, so he could possibly get a attacking return. But to be fair, going for a double up on a Man United defense, it would mostly be for the clean sheets. So like I said, in the next 4 games, so game week 22, 23 and 24, I expect at least 3 clean sheets for Man United in these games. And then for game week 25, when they will have a blank game week, this player could be transferred out. So I do like this idea as well, and I'm definitely considering it if I end up going without Bruno Fernandes. The problem is that I usually tend to go for defenders that do have a slightly bigger attacking potential. So that's the problem right now. I wish Dalot was not injured. I would be definitely more interested in a Man United defender if that was the case, but I still could end up going for Laporte to Varane and go with 2 Man United defenders instead of 2 attackers. So the rest of the options, I'm not really impressed by the strikers. Martial, he's always an injury concern. You never know what you will get from him. And Weghorst, their new player, I haven't seen a lot of enough of this player to decide whether or not he would be worth at some point. He did score a goal in their cup game yesterday, but I still have to see a lot more to start considering him as a FPL option. Now, one more player that I would suggest, once again, in case you can't afford Bruno Fernandes, that player could potentially be Eriksen. He's only 6.3 and he does get lots of assists. Now, yes, he doesn't have that big of a goal threat, but he does take corners. He does take some free shots as well. So he could provide an attacking return in this double game week, especially because they play 2 home games against 2 weaker teams. So he will have a lot more freedom to attack instead of, for example, when he played against Man City or against Arsenal, his role was mostly defensive. But playing against 2 weaker teams, he's going to be more attacking on the field. So I do fancy him to get a couple of returns as well. Definitely Bruno is the better option, but in case, like I said, you can't afford Bruno, then maybe Eriksen is worth to consider. So those are the options from Man United that I think are good and could provide some points for us in game week 22. Now the other team that has a double game week in 22 is Leeds United. So let's look at some of the positives for getting a Leeds player and some of the negatives. So the biggest positive is the fact that they are all very cheap players, very cheap options. So if you look at the strikers, we have a player like Gnonto, who is a very young player, Italian I believe, and he's only priced at 5 million. So he's very cheap, and at the moment he's nailed. So after the World Cup break, he has started every single game for Leeds, not only in the league, also in their cup games as well. He also had 2 goals, I believe, in their last cup game a week ago. So he plays on the left wing. So he's not a striker, he's a winger, which is good for FPL because it makes him more nailed on, I believe. So the striker position, there is Bamford there is Rodrigo, so there is a bigger competition. But on the left, he seems to be the best option for Leeds at the moment. Now keep in mind players like Sinistera, I believe his name is. So he's coming back from an injury. So also players like Somerville, another player that should be back from injury. I am not sure when. So all these players are coming back from injury, so they could potentially be a rotation risk for a player like Nonto, but I wouldn't be that worried about that short term. I think he is a good option at the moment for the double game week at least. Now the problem with a Leeds player is if we look at their fixtures for the double game week. So it's Man United away, a very hard fixture. Like I said, Man United look great defensively, but also they have Nottingham Forest away, which here is set as an easy fixture, is set as a 2, but I don't think that's an easy fixture. I think Nottingham Forest at home look great. Every time I have watched them, they look very solid. They don't concede many chances, and they beat some stronger teams there. I believe Chelsea lost 1-0. I believe Spurs maybe lost as well. Nottingham Forest at home is a hard, or Nottingham Forest away for the player we are trying to get is a hard fixture. So Leeds have 2 hard fixtures in their double game week, and then they have Man United again. So maybe going for a Leeds player is not that great, especially because they don't really free score at the moment. So their last league game was a 0-0 at home against Brentford, and they didn't really create that many chances in that game. It was a boring game, you could say, but for the price of 5 million, Nonto might be worth. Even if you don't fancy him, you can bench him easily. He could be your bench player, so I think he's worth getting, but I'm not sure starting him for gameweek 22 is the way to go. Now, a couple of more teams that could provide some good options for gameweek 22. Arsenal is definitely one of those teams. So if, like me, you have only 2 Arsenal players, I think it's the perfect time to get a third player as well. So I'm looking at Martin Odegaard at the moment from the midfield. So they play Everton away in gameweek 22, and then they have a double gameweek in 23, so with 2 home games. So I could very likely go for an early Arsenal player in my team. So whether it's Martin Odegaard or maybe Eddie Nketiah up front, they could provide a good value for the next couple of game weeks. Plus, I believe they won't have a blank. Yeah, they won't have a blank in game week 25, so that's a positive as well. And they look amazing at the moment as a team. It looks like all their options are great. So Nketiah looks in form. Saka is very dangerous as well. Martin Odegaard as always. So these are all great options, I believe, and I could very easily go for Eddie Nketiah, for example, in game 22 instead of Kai Havertz, and then I would use the other transfer somewhere in the midfield, and I would get either Bruno Fernandes or Eriksen or something like that. So that's another very likely and very good transfer option that I'm considering for gaming 22. And lastly, let's talk about Man City, because they also have a double gaming in 23. So I currently have De Bruyne and Haaland and Laporte, I suppose, if you consider him a Man City option. So I'm not really looking at any of their defenders, because they are all rotation risks and they don't really have that big of a attacking threat. So I'm looking at their midfielders mostly, and the obvious player that is in form and I don't have is Riyad Mahrez. So Mahrez has comfortably outscored Kevin De Bruyne in the last 2 game weeks. So against Spurs he had a huge haul, and he got an assist against Wolves as well. So I'm looking at bringing in Mahrez for game week 23. So I could possibly, like I said, I could possibly go De Bruyne to Fernandes and then to Mahrez for 23 as my Man City options. So that's one transfer idea I like very much as well. So yeah, those are the 4 teams that I think are could provide value in the next couple of game weeks, and I'm mostly looking at those 4 teams and trying to figure out which are the best options. Now I will talk more specifically about my personal transfer options in the next video. So this was more of a general idea for everyone of which players to look at, which players are good for gaming 23, 22 and 23, and I will do a specific video about my team in the next video. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this was helpful for all of you. So see you at the team selection video for gaming 22. Peace.